So I just got back from the theater from seeing Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse. This is the animated sequel to Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse from just a couple of years ago. And boy, was it good. Boy, was it good. So Into the Spider-Verse, when it came out, I saw the trailers and I was like, what is this? Calm down. It was just like it looked to me. It looked terrible into the Spider Verse. It looked like sort of a dumb idiot Spider Man and too many visual styles, and it looked like it was for the video game attention, blip for attention span generation. And I went to see it to talk about it on this fine program, and I thought it was really good. Part of the problem I had going into the Spider Verse was that the animation looked really herky jerky, and I'm somebody who believes that technique and quality of film should get better as the years go by, and things shouldn't look worse, and they shouldn't look intentionally crappy and all that. And Into the Spider-Verse won me over almost immediately. It was visually stunning. It was a lot of fun. It was immensely creative. It gave a reason why the Spider-Man in this film looks different than the Spider-Man we know and love, because it was based on a comic character. And comics have done many takes on many of these characters, and they've done multiverses and all this. And that's what, let's talk about the movie that just came out, shall we? Across the Spider-Verse picks up a little bit after where Into the Spider-Verse left off. So Miles Morales, our Spider-Man, our key Spider-Man, let's say, the main focus of these films is still struggling with being a teen and being not quite where his parents want him to be scholastically and achievementally, and just trying to figure out how to be, a youthful Spider-Man in Brooklyn, NYC. We also have Gwen, Spider-Woman, Gwen Stacy, the alternate universe female Spider-Man, which would make her Spider-Woman, the film opens with her and her predicaments and things like that. So it bobs back and forth a little bit between the two, between the Gwen and the Miles Spider-Man, which is cool. And we go once again, across the Spider-Verse, where we see a multitude of other Spider-Men. So the basic story here is that when we get with the Miles character, he's up against this villain called, is he called the Hole? He's a villain that is made up of holes. They even make a reference to how dirty this sounds within the movie. He's a villain that can basically take these spots off his body and throw it on the ground and create a hole that comes out. Think what Doctor Strange can do with the portals. Same idea. So this is a nemesis of Peter. I'm going to say Peter Parker. Peter Parker is in this as well, in a sort of a side role, as he was in Into the Spider-Verse. This is nemesis of Miles Morales that opens up a whole gigantic, terrible can of worms for one or more universes, and then we go across the titular across the Spider-Verse, and we meet a lot of other Spider-Men and women and things from other dimensions. They're all working together to prevent interdimensional catastrophe, shall we say. Which more or less is the plot of the last 10 Marvel movies, isn't it? The movie started, saw this in IMAX, movie started, visually stunning. This is phenomenal visually. This is a movie to see on a big screen. See it on a big screen, the biggest possible, with the best bright projection, because it will make your eyes burn in the best way, in the best sense of the phrase. My only qualms, and this to me is like, this was a really good movie. I really enjoyed this, but they could calm down a little bit. The movie opens with the Gwen Stacy character, and it is like this with differing visual styles. And I'm like, wow, I would love to have a chance to actually dwell on the artistry of these shots and really soak them in before you're showing me the next one that I almost sort of caught. And the multiverse thing. Now, that's what these movies are about. And I say these movies, and I'll get to why I'm saying these movies more than just the two. This incarnation of the Miles Morales Spider-Man films, they're about the multiverse thing. We can cool it with the multiverse. Everything Everywhere All at Once did it, and the Avengers movies did it, and Doctor Strange did it, and Spider-Man did it. You see where I'm going with this? Flash is doing it. It's okay. I say this forever. This movie was about 2.5 hours. It flew by. I did not mind the length. I wouldn't mind if it was actually even a little bit longer. Not every superhero movie needs to be about the end of the universe. That gets tiresome after a while, and it becomes mundane after a while. Some line I heard years ago always sticks with me. There's nothing so boring as being consistently amazed. It doesn't have to be a multiverse every time. We don't have to have 100 versions of every character. We don't have to have 10 timelines. Yes, comics have done it, but most of the comics I read during the lifetime of me reading comics really weren't about that. They were about much lower stakes, and that was okay. The problem with every superhero movie being about the end of the world is that if you want to do one like I suggest, which is 85 minutes and it's about a runaway train, maybe a runaway train with a biological agent on it or something like that. You can be low stakes and still be a good, fun superhero movie. It just gets to be kind of more the same, which, oh, hey, look, there's another portal to another dimension with 500 variations on my favorite character. That's great. The more characters you have, the less time you get to spend with any of them. And I like the characters in these movies. You really care about Miles Morales and his family and Gwen Stacy and her family. And it is interesting how it is interesting how they play with the multidimensional thing and saying, there are consistent canon moments in the lives of all of these Spider-Men that they see in each other. And that's really interesting. Superbly creative film in terms of the characters. There were so many visual gags. This is one of the most freeze-frameable films I can remember seeing, is probably since Who Framed Roger Rabbit or something else. Like, there is so much packed into this film, visually densely packed into this film, that this is one where you want to have the Blu-ray player with the still advance if they still make that opportunity, because literally there are things that are on screen for probably a few frames. There are unbelievably gorgeous imagery in terms of color and drawing and artistry on the screen that just fly by, that I want to be able to soak up. Like, so many times I'm like, that's a great shot. That's an amazingly composed shot. Wow, that's beautiful. Wow, that's gorgeous. Oh my God, what they're doing with the colors in this shot. It's so well done. It's got a lot of heart, as any good Spider-Man movie should. It's really, really good. Now, how does it compare to the first one? I couldn't tell you because I really don't remember much about the first one. I kind of see these in the theater and I talk about them on this program, and then I move on, so I don't really dwell on it. But easily, I think, as good as the first film. It doesn't do quite as much as the first film, but you do, as I say, get a lot of Spider-Man. You get some very fun and interesting Spider-Man. You get Spider-Man of different worlds and ethnicities and all of that. And there's an Indian Spider-Man, I don't remember if they say where, Middle Eastern Spider-Man, let's say, that's just so beautifully done. I mean, in terms of how funny and knowing and respectful it is. It's a lot of fun. I just would love, and I would love if we lived in a world where a lot of these other Spider-Man could get their own film or their own short film. Maybe we do in front of the next Spider-Verse thing, wink, we get 15 minutes of some other Spider-Man adventure that's just a concise little adventure. That'd be pretty cool. So, the big thing I want to say about this, there is no post-credits sequence. So once it just goes to text on a black screen, you're done. There is, again, more gorgeous artistry under the credits that I would suggest you stay for. And it's just impressions of Spider-Man and Spider-Man swinging around and stuff, but it's so beautifully done with this. It's almost like a paint technique. It looks like, oil on canvas kind of thing. There is no ending to this movie. That's something I want everybody to know. I didn't know this going in. I was really shocked that the audience I saw it with didn't go, "What?" at the end of the movie, because it gets up to what you think is going to be the last big tussle in the film, and then it just comes up and says, "To be continued." And I was like, so they're pulling a Back to the Future 2 on this. This is great. I was not aware that the movie actually wasn't going to end. It was a little disappointing to me, but it also says, wait, you're going to give me another one of these? Beyond the Spider-Verse apparently is coming out in 2024. I look forward to that because this one was really good. It's a little bit of having the rug pulled out from under you when you're watching the movie and you think you're totally all in, invested emotionally in it, and you get up toward the end is going to be, and they're like, "See you next year, folks," and you're like, hey. So I've rambled long enough. Thank you for your time. I've rambled long enough. Into the Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse is very, very good. It's fine for kids. There's nothing, they go out of their way to not swear in the movie, which was appreciated. Not that I'm a prude, but it's just like, it wasn't necessary. It felt like you were reading a comic book. They often would have the word bubble in the corner, although oftentimes, again, because of the hyperactive nature of this film, a lot of times they would not be up long enough to be able to read it, which is unfortunate. I really think this is absolutely a movie to see in the theater to experience it, but this is absolutely a movie to later re-experience at home, where you can really appreciate how amazingly done this film is. in a way that the film itself doesn't give you the opportunity to do when it's playing out of your control. So in theaters now, in multiple formats, is Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse.